By definition, an antenna is a metal whip designed to receive and transmit radio signals within a given area.
It's BS in the Morning on KSLQ and Westplex 107.1.
It is BS.Show. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. Together we make BS. Yes, that's what we do. That's our job. We have a tough job. Our boss says, hey, BS show's on the air. Time for BS. It's really hard for me because I rarely ever tell anything that's like stretches the truth. But Shelley, she's the queen of BS. And I don't know if she's going to be along in a minute or not. Probably not. Anyway, it is a Tuesday morning. Hold on a minute. Okay, your daughter called me. Tiffany told me to tell you to sound like you're awake today, okay?
What?
Tiffany called me and said...
Did she really?
Hey, tell my mom to sound like she's awake. Sometimes when I listen to your show in the morning, my mom sounds like she's sleeping. I go, I know. It's to the point where I go, Shelley, hey, wake up. We're on the air. Right? No?
Did Tiffany really call you?
Oh, yeah. She called me about 4 times yesterday.
Oh, she did not.
She
Stop
did.
it.
Are you awake? Are you conscious? Are you with us? Hello?
Is that a question?
Yeah, it was a series of questions. You
didn't say that to me.
I'd say, yeah. Lots of stuff to talk about. First off, the weather. I'm looking at this radar a couple of minutes ago, about a half an hour ago. Let me look at it again. Let me refresh here. Yeah, man, I'm telling you. You know what? Normally, it's like we're always like sort of dodging it. I don't know if we're going to dodge this one. We've already had some rain throughout the night and big monster storm system. This one is ironically moving from northwest to southeast. This one's
that is unusual.
This one's coming like out of Omaha. Right now, the storm goes all the way from, I would say, way down in southern Illinois. Matter of fact, way south of Carbondale, all the way across the state of Missouri up to Omaha. So it's going like, at a 45 degree angle from the northwest to the southeast. And man, I tell you what, in mid-Missouri right now, they are getting hammered. Lake of the Ozarks, the northern part of Lake of the Ozarks is just getting hammered with some real heavy activity. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they put out a couple warnings. Looks like some severe thunderstorms in that area. That's to the west of us right now. But moving through the area, and once again, we are on the northern edge of this. So we may not get the full force of the storm, but if you're like
full Monty,
if you're like in Cape Girardeau right now, or if you're like in Jefferson City, Columbia, any places like that, south of Cape or Jeff City, you're just getting, south of Columbia or Jeff City, you're just getting hammered. And up in northwest Missouri, man, it's just like, if you're driving I-29 between Kansas City and Omaha, good luck. You're going to have a hell of a drive this morning. So I don't know how many people are going to be doing that, especially in our listening area. There is a, what is this, a flash flood watch, or this is a severe thunderstorm watch to the south of us in Arkansas, but nothing in the state of Missouri yet. So we'll just Arkansas. Just have to keep an eye on it. Anyway, this is BS.Show. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. Together we make BS. Mm-hmm. Lots of stuff to talk about. We have a special guest in the 7:30 hour. I think going to be really interesting. Couple things that I want to talk about. Couple things we'll talk about in the next couple hours. Interesting story about the new CEO of Six Flags and what he had to say about what's going on in the parks. Also, we got Wally's in Fenton. Buc-ee's is coming to Missouri.
Really?
Yes, but not in our area. It's not
where.
I'll tell you later. We'll just, you
just have to wait.
Right. I'm doing my.
I'm an instant gratification kind of girl. I don't want to wait.
I'm doing my teases. Salman Rushdie, who was.
Your mama dresses you funny.
She does.
You never take me anywhere.
Yes. Salman Rushdie, who was stabbed last week. You know who he is, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know he was married to this super hot woman?
No.
Her name is.
No, he was married to a super hot woman. No,
well,
I can say
he was. They got divorced. Her name is Padma Lakshmi. 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 I guess it's Lakshmi. Padma Lakshmi. And once again, he's like 75. She's like 35. I'm going like, what?
Good for him.
Yeah, not so good for her, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, you never know.
If you know the story. Some of you may not know this, but this dates way back. He wrote this book, I want to say like 35 years ago, I have to look at the exact date. It's been a long time. It's been back in the 1980s, 1990s, someplace back in there. And it's called the Satanic Verses. And it was sort of...
What?
It was called the Satanic Verses.
That's what I thought you said.
That's the name of the book. And it was sort of a fictional, semi-fictional book. And he sort of trashed certain religions, and especially he trashed the Muslims. And at the time, Khomeini, the whatever his name is, the dude, the head dude, the religious guy who also runs the country in Iran, put a bounty on his head. And that bounty has stayed, matter of fact, through the years, it's gone up and up and up. And I believe the last time I read about it, it was like $3 million. Essentially, he was somebody in the not, and the official government of Iran has sort of distanced itself from it. But some of the people in the religion still essentially say, we want this guy dead. And if you know the story, he was last week.
And they're a different culture, so it probably means something to them differently than it means to us.
But see, once again, I don't think that if somebody wrote a book that was critical of Jesus Christ, I don't think the Catholic Church would be putting out a bounty on somebody's head. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think that's going to happen. Nor do I think the Protestants, nor the evangelists, or the all the different religions. The Lutherans, they wouldn't be putting But yet in other countries, you defame our religion, you die. Anyway, guy jumped up on a stage last week. He was in New York at a conference. He was getting a presentation, and they talked about how totally premeditated. The tickets weren't cheap. The guy registered ahead of time, flew in from another city. I believe just as the thing was starting, jumped up on the stage, started stabbing Salman Rushdie. You know who I'm saying. Salman Rushdie. God, I can't remember his name now. Anyway, started stabbing him and got him in the neck, got him in the kidney. And for a while, he was in really bad shape. He was on a ventilator. He was, essentially in a coma. And now supposedly he's doing better. And I had no idea he was married to this woman. She's like one of the chef gals. She's been on like the Top Chef shows and things like that. And I read the story about her that apparently they had a really good relationship. They had a good marriage until she started to get famous, and he couldn't handle that because he was Mr. Famous. He's been like back in the day, you couldn't open up the newspaper. This is before like the internet news really kicked off, but you couldn't open the newspaper without an article about Salman Rushdie being threatened by somebody, or how he was being protected. And I believe he's originally from Pakistan. I believe he's an English citizen. Anyway, so sort of a sad story. Once again, that's one of the things in our country. Sometimes you got to scratch your head and go, well, is that really true anymore? Freedom of speech. And when somebody gets up on stage, and especially, people who are wanting to hear this man talk, because he is a very interesting guy, and somebody jumps out of the audience with a knife, and once again, no gun, a knife. And I don't know if you know, we've talked about this before. The gun control in England is super, 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 super tough. It's almost impossible to get a gun in England. So what happens in England? Everybody gets stabbed. And I'm not exaggerating. They have stabbings all the time.
I bet they do.
It happens even to the point where at one point in time, they were actually talking about registering knives. If you're going to go to the store and buy like a set of kitchen knives and like butcher knives and things like that, you had to register. You had to get like a permit to get a... I'm going like, okay, what's it going to be next? What's it going to be like, like vacuum cleaners so you don't suck somebody's brains out or something like that? I don't know. It's just weird stuff. And once again, it's one of those things, if someone wants to do harm to you, they can figure out 42 ways to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I
do. I know exactly what you mean.
And it's one of those things. It's not necessarily, and quite honestly, I think the gun's the easy thing because, you pull the trigger, bullet comes out. Terrible story. I'm reading over the weekend. As a matter of fact, I'm reading this morning about a guy, his ex-girlfriend went over to her house in Kirkwood to borrow money. She wouldn't let him have money. Shot her, killed her. I'm going, okay. And the guy was drunk. Where did they find him? Passed out in the next door neighbor's back porch. He just, he stumbles out of the house, bonk. And matter of fact, the worst part of it was, it's terrible that the woman was killed. She's on the phone with the police dispatcher saying, my ex-boyfriend's here. He's got a gun pointed at me. Please come quick. Boom. She's dead.
Why do you have to start off the mornings like this?
Why do you have? I mean, can you imagine that? See, I was a police dispatcher. That never happened to me. I got some nasty calls. I got some really serious calls. I never had anybody get shot.
Threaten you?
No, I had never had anybody get shot while I'm on the phone with them. That never happened. But as a matter of fact, there's an interesting story. And we'll maybe talk about that later. You want to talk about that? You want me to be positive? You want me to tell good stories? You want me to tell stories about stuff like Calvin Hobbes? Why does he pee on people? Yeah, that's what.
Oh my God! I saw one of those. In the bottom, it said, "What did it say?" Holly.
Well,
and I just thought that was so funny.
Also, I'm a techno nerd and I'm a car guy. I've never heard of this before. I heard about it last week and I've been nerding out on it. It's a thing called Open Pilot. Have you heard about this?
No.
It's software you can buy to convert your car, not all cars, but some of the newer cars. You can convert your car with the software and some hardware to self-driving. It doesn't have to be a Tesla. And I think there's
people have been killed with self-driving.
Well, but here's the interesting thing. And what's interesting is I read a review on Consumer Reports, and with this thing called Open Pilot, and the software is called there's equipment called Comma 3. It's the name of the equipment package you put in your car, and it's like $2,000, and then you load the Open Pilot software into this thing, and Consumer Reports did it. They said it's the best self-driving system out there. It beats Tesla. It beats General Motors. It beats the drink that Shelley's pouring right now. It beats everything.
We got to have our vodka, Brad.
What are you drinking?
Huh?
I can hear you drinking. What were you drinking?
Vodka?
No, seriously, what were you drinking? What are you pouring?
Vodka?
No, you're not. There's a label on this show, if you don't realize, on your back. If you're listening to this radio show, on the back of your radio, if you're turning your radio around, or if you pull your radio out of your dashboard, there's a sticker on the back of your radio that says, "Please do not listen to this radio show while operating heavy equipment or driving vehicles."
Yes, and don't drink vodka.
Are you really drinking vodka?
No, it's scotch. I'm a scotch drinker.
Okay.
I thought you knew that.
I've never understood the difference between whiskey, rye, and scotch. Can anybody explain that to me? It's the same stuff, isn't it? Whiskey, rye, and scotch. Isn't it the same stuff?
No.
Why is it different?
I don't know.
I
just drink it.
You know what? I've got nerd friends in the liquor industry who used to work.
I know
Some of them used to work for Anheuser-Busch. And, for example, I got schooled in the difference between whiskey, W-H-I-S-K-E-Y, and whiskey, W-H-I-S-K-Y. Did you know there's a difference?
Why?
Well, there's a difference between, I can't remember if it's, I have to look this up again. If it's K-E-Y, it's made in one place, and if it's a K-Y, it's made somewhere else.
I hope so.
No, seriously, it's sort of bizarre. It's like because I said something about why is whiskey spelled two different ways, and it was explained to me by this alcoholic beverage nerd who used to work at Anheuser-Busch, and I'm going like, what? And it was this crazy long explanation about a long time ago, and it has something to do with licensing and things like that. It's just weird. So that's
I never noticed.
Yeah. And next break, I'll look it up and I'll tell you the difference. Okay. This show, and you know what? This show provides you, when you show up at work today, you're going to walk in there and go, hey, do you know there's a difference between whiskey, W-I-H-S-K-Y and S-K-E-Y? There's a difference between those two. And people go, really? Tell us. And, most people are going to go, nah, we already know. We heard it on BS.Show this morning. Right?
Yes. We always leave a golden nugget.
Right. 627. It is BS.Show. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. Together we make BS. It is 6:33 on a Tuesday morning. Rain throughout the area. We are on one edge of the storm front as it's moving through the St. Louis area. Hopefully we will be not nailed with some of the worse activity, which is in central Missouri right now, around Columbia, Jefferson City, in that area. Matter of fact, right now the heavy activity is all the way from the Iowa border down to Lake of the Ozarks, if you're looking north to south, so right through the middle of the state. And right now, Kansas City is just getting slammed. Really heavy Super Duty rain. And,
are they wet? Are they really?
Oh, yeah. There's some nasty stuff moving through Kansas. Matter of fact, right now, if you look at it this way, If you were to leave St. Louis right now and drive west on I-70, at this very moment, you would be in a storm the entire way, all the way across the state of Missouri, into Kansas, into like Topeka. And then there's another one behind that. Matter of fact, there's another storm front that's right now coming out of Colorado. So anyway, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Jennifer, what's her name again now?
Wojcicki.
I almost said it. I tried.
You tried.
It was like
an A for effort.
It was like I'm going up to that ramp. I was going to jump the car. You know, I'm doing the Evel Knievel thing at the last minute. Oh, I'm not going to jump it. I'm pulled off and turned over my car.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, have you noticed the changes that Facebook is making?
We talked about that. Yeah, they're making all sorts of weird changes.
It's not good. We should start our own social network.
We're trying. Well, but what they're doing is, remember we had this article a couple weeks ago. They're mimicking TikTok. They're moving away from being a news source. Shelley, where are you going to get your news? I mean,
I don't know.
If Facebook,
I'm about ready to leave Facebook.
If Facebook isn't giving you your news, I mean, like all the stuff you come up with, you know, like Shelley the other day. Hey, Brad, do you know that we got a new president? He got elected just the other day, Joe Biden. Shelley, that's like a year and a half old. Oh, it was just on Facebook the other day that the election was over and we have President Biden now. Shelley, that's by the way.
If you see me today,
yeah,
look at my face. You know what you'll see?
Boy, there's a line I could use, but
I wouldn't do it.
I value my face because if I used it, you would rearrange my facial features, just like my Sunday when he broke my nose.
Yeah, I would throat punch you.
Just throat punch? That's it? Just a throat punch?
It'll be enough.
Okay. Bunch of things to talk about this morning. First off, where was I with this? Oh, I got this, and once again, not to try to get political, but someone sent me this, and it's pretty funny. You know how everybody is saying that it's terrible that Donald Trump, he lost the election, and why doesn't he just shut up about it? All the Democrats are saying, it's terrible. Someone sent me a video that is 10 minutes long. And guess where it's from, when it's from.
Where? The raid?
It's from 2016. It's Hillary Clinton and I don't know how many other Democrats talking about, well, Donald Trump didn't win the election. Hillary Clinton won the election. And I'm going like, this is so funny because once again, they're all saying back in 2016, they're saying the Russians stole the election, which I think we've pretty much proven the fact that that's sort of BS and not our show. But it's 10 minutes of clips. And some of the clips are like literally 2-3 seconds long. And it's like Hillary Clinton's in there a bunch of time. Yeah, I should have been elected, but the Russians stole the election. Donald Trump is not really the president. And I'm going like, isn't this funny that they're complaining about Trump saying that, hey, he lost the election. He should just go away and essentially say, and quite honestly, I'm with him. I'm going like, Mr. Trump, just shut up. Move on down the road. If you want any kind of aspirations of maybe running for president again, just essentially say, well, I'm not wild what happened in 2020, but I'm going to give it another shot in 2024. Don't say it was stolen, blah, 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 blah. Although, every election, I don't care what they say, there's all sorts of weird shenanigans that goes on. We had that case here in St. Louis years ago. I think we talked about that. The guy who was one of the protesters for Michael Brown, was his name. I think his name was Michael Franks, and he ran against a woman as a state rep, and turned out that she really did throw the election, and the judges, saw the proof of this. They voided the election, they had another election, he won. So when people say, well, there's never any election fraud, that's like saying there's nobody speeding on the highway. Yeah, set your cruise control for like 62 like I do, and count how many people drive by you at like 100 miles an hour, like Shelley.
Brad?
I was driving back and forth between St. Charles and St. Louis County yesterday on 364.
Yeah.
There were 3 cars in a row. I guess they were chasing each other way in excess of 100 miles an hour. I'd say maybe 110, 120 miles an hour.
And I was not one of them.
I mean, it's just, I'm going like, okay, I don't want to sound like I'm Mr. Nerdbutt, but all it takes.
You are Mr. Nerdbutt.
Well, all it takes is somebody to just, look in the rearview mirror, check their mirrors, switch lanes, and then all of a sudden, these guys flying by at 120 miles an hour smash into them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or lose control, dodge the car, end up hitting 3 or 4. You watch these videos on YouTube all the time of these guys flying down the highway, and lose control of their car, and it's one thing that they end up smashed into the Jersey barrier, but they always take out like 10 other cars with them. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that always bothers me. Just innocent people driving down a highway, some nuts driving 120 miles an hour loses control of his car or clips the back of one car. I had a guy. You ever look in your rearview mirror and see like some guy who's like passing you, and you think like, I think he might be able to put a piece of paper between his bumper and my bumper. You know what I mean? Like they pass you, they sort of like do the NASCAR pass where they're like drafting you. They're sitting on your bumper, and then they come around you. I'm going like, man, this is crazy.
They do that.
You said doo-doo.
I did.
You do that to me all the time. Okay.
I know.
The smartest woman in the world. Here we go.
I love her.
Spelling depends on spirit's country of origin. We're talking about whiskey. American-produced varieties such as bourbon, rye, Tennessee, as well as the Irish spirit utilize whiskey, S-K-E-Y, whereas the spirit from Scotland, Canada, and Japan uses whiskey, S-K-Y. American and Irish liquor producers and copy editors tend to favor the spelling whiskey, while Scottish, Canadian, and Japanese producers and copy editors tend to favor the spelling whiskey, S-K-Y. The difference also carries on into the plural. For whiskey, it's whiskeys, W-H-I-S-K-E-Y-S, and whiskey, S-K-Y, it's W-H-I-S-K-I-E-S. Rye whiskeys use a minimum of 51% rye, while bourbon requires the mash to be a majority of corn versus rye. You got that?
Okay.
So if it's, but still it doesn't. But what's Scotch? So what is Scotch? Is that a special kind of whiskey that's made in Scotland?
I don't know. I just happen to like it.
And I won't attribute
Scotch
this
on the rocks, tall glass, single pour, 2 lemons.
Now, what does that mean?
Ice.
What does single pour mean?
It means they pour you a single shot instead of a double shot if you ask it for tall.
Okay, what does tall mean? See, I'm not a drinker.
Tall is a tall glass.
Okay, so why would you want a tall glass?
Because there's more ice in there.
And it keeps it cooler? Keeps it colder?
Uh-huh.
So a tall glass, they can put more ice in it, but there's less liquor. And if there's more ice in it, doesn't it dilute it more? As the ice melts, doesn't it make it more watery and not really give you that true whiskey taste?
I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that. Okay. See, okay.
I don't. You do not shot whiskey or vodka or gin.
You don't take shots
not
of
whiskey. Rum. You don't shot that.
What do you mean? You don't take just like a shot glass and just like throw it back?
Yes.
Why not?
Ew.
No, I don't. See, I don't know all these things. I'm not a bar guy. I mean, I'm
not a bar girl either.
But see,
I am not a bar fly.
The crazy thing is, when I go to restaurants that have a bar, I love to eat at the bar. There's something about...
Because you can people watch.
Well, no, it's not necessarily that. It's just something about sitting at the bar, eating at the bar. I mean, like there's several restaurants I go to, haven't been there in a while, but I sit and eat at the bar. And I don't know why. Matter of fact, I think I told you the story that years ago, my oldest son, we went to Chicago on a business trip. It was a Saturday, and he was, at the time, really into Michael Jordan. And he said to me, he says, are we going to be near Michael Jordan's bar? Because he had, I don't know if it still is, there was a bar at his place in Chicago. It was a restaurant bar. So I said, yeah. And he goes, and we met a guy in the morning, and then we had a couple hours off. It was on a Saturday, and then we had to go back and do a little business. And so I said, let's go down to Michael Jordan's. And so, drove my car down there, found a parking space, and downtown Chicago wasn't too bad because it was on a Saturday. And we went in, and we got thrown out.
Why?
He wasn't allowed in, under 21.
Oh.
I mean, and this was at lunchtime. A lot of places, there's places here in St. Louis, I've seen them in St. Charles County. It used to be, matter of fact, Willikers used to have the sign up that no one under 21 was allowed into the bar area after like 8 o'clock at night. So, and I've seen that at other places as well too. Said, like bar area closed under 21 after such and such a time. I don't know if that's current anymore or not. But anyway, we went in there, and I even said to the guy, I said, "We'll sit at a table and eat." And the guy says, "I'm sorry." He says, "He's underage." He says, "I can't let you in." I go, "Not even for lunch?" "Nope, sorry." And, here my son was really disappointed, because, we were in Michael Jordan's restaurant. We were going to eat at Michael Jordan's restaurant. We got thrown out of Michael Jordan's restaurant. I can't remember where we went. We found some other place to eat in downtown Chicago, some local place. But,
Did you go to the Sears Tower?
Well, I have a funny story about that. When my kids, see, this is once again, every once in a while, and Shelley, you were there one time when I brought up the fact that I have 4 kids. And there were people who were shocked by that. Remember that time? You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
It was not a good time for me. But anyway, when they were quizzing me down, it was an inquisition, shall we say? And yep. I'm getting scrutinized. And I said I had 4 kids. And one like, "You have 4 kids?" Like I'm the kind of guy that would like, "I can't believe that you have a kid license. Why would they allow you to have 4 kids?" You know what I mean? Who would give you a kid permit? How can you have 4 kids? So anyway,
you're like, "Did you really want me to spell it out for you?"
My kids at the time were 10, 7, or no, my kids were 9, 10, 7, 4, and 10 months old. 4 kids. In the winter, I spent 10 days on the road with my 4 kids in my pickup truck. How about that? We headed north. We went through Iowa, had some business to take care of in Iowa. Then we went up to Minnesota, had some business to take care of in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Then we took our time. We came down through Wisconsin, came through Madison, Green Bay, spent a couple nights in Chicago. And so our last day on the road was a Saturday. And my oldest son said he wanted to go see the Sears Tower. So we go into downtown Chicago. And the interesting thing was, to this day, I'm going to call my son. His birthday's on Thursday, so I'm going to call him in. And I'll ask him this question, and he'll still remember this about what happened in the parking lot at the Sears Tower. Anyway, we go into the Sears Tower. It's not even called the Sears Tower anymore. It's something, the Winslow Tower or something like that.
It'll always be Sears Tower to me.
Yeah, just like Riverport, right?
Yep.
Just like Highway 40. It's not 64, It's 40. Okay, so it's sort of an overcast day. So we go to the ticket window down in the first floor of the Sears Tower, and the sign says limited
long-haired freaky people.
No, it doesn't say that. It says limited visibility today, and there was a discount. It was like $2 off or something like that. It said limited visibility. So we get on the elevator, buy tickets for me and my 4 kids, and once again, the question I had was, when I tell this story, people will say, especially women, "So hold on a minute, your son was 10 months old?" "Yes." "You changed his diaper?" I've changed thousands of diapers. I mean, I've had all 4 of my kids. I've changed, if you figure my kids, for the first 2 years, they were probably in diapers. So times 1 kid, I didn't change every single one, but let's say I changed one every other day for 2 years. That's 365 times 4. I'm well into the thousands, okay? And I probably did more than that. So we get on the elevator doors open. And we realize it's not limited visibility. It's no visibility. It's like somebody painted the windows white. It's completely opaque. We are in the clouds. You can't see anything. I mean, it's to the point where the windows, like I said, they could have been just painted white, and we wouldn't have known the difference. I'm going like, limited visibility? You can't see anything. So I said something to one of the guys up there. I go, somehow I feel like I've been taken advantage. Couldn't they have said, you can't see out the windows? They go, "Well, we don't have that designation. It's either good visibility or limited visibility." So I'm going like, so it's either black or white. He says, "Yeah, sort of like that. No gray." That's what the guy said. I swear to God, that's a true story. So we walked around up there.
I live by that code.
We walked around up there for 10 or 15 minutes. Well, I think I would have had more fun taking my money and putting it in a pile in a parking lot and putting lighter fluid on and burn it rather than pay for the stupid tickets to go up to the Sears Tower and look out the window, which you couldn't look out because it was too cloudy. So that's my Sears Tower story. It's the only time I've ever been there.
You going to ask your son?
Remind me.
To corroborate?
I'm going to call him. I'm going to call him on Thursday. He doesn't know this yet. It's his birthday on Thursday. I'm going to call him and get him on the air. We had him on the air just the other day. Remember I called him about...
I know you did.
Yeah, so...
He's like a regular.
Right. We'll call him, and I will say to him, watch this. I will say, hey, remember when we went to the Sears Tower? And any money, he'll say, of course. And I'll say, remember what happened in the parking lot? And you watch him tell the story. He still remembers this to this day. It had such an impact on him. I'm going like, man, that's a bizarre memory that he has. When I tell you what happened, you go like, what? He remembers that? Yes. And I do too, because it was bizarre. Anyway, we have to take a break. I blew past my...
Bizarre? How bizarre?
You know what?
What?
I think I should add that song.
I think you should too.
Yeah. Okay, we have to take a break. 6:49.
Break.
Bang, 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 bang. You ready for that?
I love that song.
Do you really?
I do.
You know those
I think
guys?
It's fun, and I tap my toes, and I don't, like a metronome.
They're brothers. You know the interesting thing about that is, you know who the guy is? Metronome. You know who that guy is?
No.
He's the voice of, and I'm not making this up, he's the voice of the New York subway system.
Really?
Yes. It's the guy who, please step back from the door. He's one of those guys who's like, he's like, they found out who the guy was, and they hired him to do those things for the song. True story. So, How do I know that? Because I'm a nerd.
You are a nerd. You're a weirdo and a nerd.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. I'm trying to find one. I'm trying to find your daughter because she called me again, and she's telling.
She did not.
She
Stop
did.
it.
She did. She called me again. I'm trying to.
Are you trying to find her phone number?
No, I'm trying to find her recording here. Hold a minute. Here. Let me see if this is it.
Every now and then I have to go outside and run the vacuum cleaner over the driveway just to make sure that my neighbors never talk to me.
No, that's not it. Is it this one? Hold on a minute. I can't find it.
And ladies, here's the thing you need to know about men.
No, that's not it either.
You think?
No. Here, I'm in.
Laws are made to be broken.
No, that's not it either. I gotta find it.
That was from the beginning.
I gotta find it. Hold on a minute. Here, hold a minute.
Shelley, we listen online in our country. How do you say, you got it going on, girlfriend? Rock on, sister.
Remember that one?
I do remember that one.
How about
That's
this one?
funny.
Shelley, you are amazing. How do you do it?
You don't like that one?
I do.
I don't know how to explain it. They're choppy.
I'm amazing. I'm okay with
I don't
that.
know how to explain it. They're choppy.
It's too big to send.
I don't know how to explain it. They're choppy.
It's too big to send.
That's not it. Hold on. I can't find it. It's going to drive me nuts. Oh, no. Is this it?
The equivalent to butt sniffing with dogs?
No, here it is. I found it. Here's your daughter, right? Her debut on the BS.Show. This is Shelley's daughter, Tiffany, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm just taking my cat to go get an enema. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself,
That was her debut, wasn't it?
That was. We had her on the air, and she's driving somewhere early in the morning, and I said to her, "What are you doing?" And she says,
Oh, I'm just taking my cat to go get an enema. I'm excited.
the way she said it, it's classic. I'm taking my cat to get an enema. Oh, I'm excited. Who gets excited about taking their cat to the vet to get an enema, right?
Yeah.
Are too many.
That cat's probably been in her life for, 20 years.
Is that the same cat? Come on. 20 years? Cats don't last that long.
Well, that's not necessarily accurate.
Seriously?
Yeah.
It's a 20-year-old cat?
I don't know. That may have been an exaggeration, but he's double digits.
Well, but that can mean he's 10.
No, he's not. He's older than 10.
15?
It's more 15 than it is 10.
So now it was 20, and now it might be 14. We're not exactly sure, right? It's somewhere in there, right? Oh.
It's an old cat,
Oh.
and he's very frail, but he has the cutest little personality. He plays hide and seek. He plays peekaboo. He plays he'll talk to you.
And you know what else?
Won't let me touch him. Won't let me touch him. Won't let me touch him. That was about David. Thank you. Who's calling me?
Because this is your world, and you can create anything that you want in it.
Won't let me touch him.
I think sometimes we work too hard at painting. Painting should always be fun. Should make you happy.
Won't let me touch him. I was getting in with the groove.
So whoever the hell Shelley is...
That's funny.
That's the English dude. Whoever the hell Shelley is. You can't believe I found that one, can you? Okay. We have to
You're pretty funny, actually.
We have to take a break.
Won't let me touch him.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, Shelley, enough. Okay.
Shelley, stop talking like I asked you to.
Right.
What'd you say? I don't want to stop talking.
Now we have to take a break. It's 6:59. Born in 1999. You know how I know a little bit about him?
Well, how?
I was driving around on Sunday listening to American Top 40 with Casey Kasem. And he called up Nikki York. Hey, Nikki, this is Casey Kasem. And Nikki said, aren't you dead? And Casey's, no, I'm still alive. I'm here because I'm better than Ryan Seacrest. Ryan Seacrest is boring, so they brought me back. I'm back from the grave. I'm kidding. Anyway, Ryan Seacrest interviewed him. Interesting story. He graduated from one of the California, he's a California boy, graduated from one of the California colleges, USC, I can't remember which one. He's got like a bachelor's degree in business administration. He was a sales manager for Dell Computers. He was selling business, he was selling business to business. He was like a sales manager running a sales department, and he's been recording since 2017 when he was like a teenager, and he recorded this song, and he tells the story about late last year when he releases a song and it starts to get some airplay. Matter of fact, at first it got to be a big hit in Australia of all places, and now it's sort of a hit in the United States. So he goes into his sales manager's office and he tells the story. It's pretty funny. He says, I do this recording thing on the side, and his manager says, yeah, and he said, it's starting to take off, and his manager said, yeah, we've been hearing it on the radio. Well, I hate to tell you this, but I'm here to quit. And his manager says, you know what? I think that's the best. And he was sort of shocked by that. He goes, you don't need me here? He goes, well, it's not that we don't need you. You do a good job, but we think you're going to be a star, and we're not going to stand in your way. So whatever we can do to help you out, we're more than happy to do it, but we totally understand. So he quit his job. And now he's a full-time artist, whatever you want to call it. And also that's Nick.
Did he go to school?
I told you he's got a college degree.
Oh, yeah, you did say that. So,
which is
that worthless?
Yes, useless because it's degrees in business administration or something like that. Well,
he's going to have to know how to handle his stuff.
No, you hire a manager for that. You don't do that yourself. You hire a manager, You hire like Colonel Parker. Colonel Parker takes care of you, No?
Okay. That's what we should do.
Anyway.
We should be a manager for bands.
No, thanks. Dude,
come on.
I knew people who used to do that, and I think you'd have a better job of being a cat herder than being a manager for bands. I have a theory. If you go back 30 or 40 years, all the music on the radio was groups. It was like, Journey and things like that, okay?
Yes.
Now it's all solo artists. You know why that is? Here's my theory. The theory is the management in the music industry going, we're done with all these crazy weird groups where, and go watch the movie Almost Famous, where they have fights between members of the group and stuff like that. You read these stories about so-and-so dropped out of the band because he was dating a girl and the drummer started dating the same girl and they had a big fight. So we threw him out of the band. We got a different bass player, and then he got drunk one night and smashed his car into a Taco Bell. So we got rid of him. So we got it. No, you get a solo artist. And if they get too wacky, you just have the court put them under court supervision for their mother, their father, like Britney Spears, and you keep them in tow. You know what I mean? Britney Spears' dad, honey, I love you, but don't put on any weight because we can't get you into Vegas if you're a little bit heavy, and keep running that money machine. Yes, Britney, I love you so much, but we got to keep making money. We got to keep making money, honey.
You think that's how it went?
Yes, that's exactly how it went. I feel sorry for her.
According to Britney?
Well, she's come out and said some interesting things. I mean, it's sort of sad. Remember the story about she was forced to take birth control pills by the court. The court said, they talk about the abortion thing. Here, the court said you can't have a baby. You're forced into celibacy. I mean, it's bizarre, weird stuff. I'm going like, okay, and our dad was making all that money. God, there's all sorts of stories like that. Matter of fact, I go back in my history. I think it may be called the Mickey Rooney Law. You know who Mickey Rooney was?
I do.
Mickey Rooney was a very, who was in a lot of movies and, tons of movies.
A lot of movies.
But he was a child actor. And I think the story somebody just texted me maybe. I think the story was that his parents took all his money and spent it. And when he became an adult, he was broke. Yet he made like gazillion bucks when he was a kid as a child actor. I think it's called the Mickey Rooney Law. I'll look that up. Okay, couple things to catch up on. I'm getting behind in my stuff here. We try to inform you. The smartest woman in the world says, and she lived in Illinois for a while, she would know, Illinois rules differently today. Persons under 21 may only enter a licensed tavern accompanied by a parent or legal guardian. It's up to the bar. As a general rule, if it's a restaurant that also has a bar, you will be okay, but will need to sit at a table, not at the bar. So essentially, she's saying, now I don't know if she's saying the rules have changed, but it's still, according to this, it's up to the bar. So when I took my son, who at the time was 15 or 16 years old, into the Michael Jordan restaurant in Chicago, on a Saturday at like noon for lunch, we were told to leave. We were thrown out. I mean, not physically thrown out, although they did grab me by the collar and say, see that door? Open it, because otherwise you're going to be wearing it. I think the guy said something like that. Did they
hold you by your ear and just lead you out?
Well, that's in all.
Your son
that's in all the
little. Other ear.
That's in all.
Leaded him out.
That's in all the Little Rascals movies. Where remember they grabbed the kids by the ear? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm going like, my ear. Supposedly, have you ever heard this story about? Was it Thomas Edison? Did you ever hear this weird story about how he was deaf? He was partially deaf.
I did not know that.
He was running to get on a train, and somebody grabbed him by the ears and pulled him into the train.
My mom was deaf in one ear.
I'm blind in one eye, so remember, I'm the guy who I can give you word of advice. I had my 20th anniversary of being blinded in one eye by a surgeon, and I say it again. It's never a good thing when you're having surgery and the doctor says, OSH blunk, blunk, blunk. Right? Which is what happened to me.
Correct.
The doctor said, OS blank, blank, blank. And I'm going like, this is not good when you're under the knife and the doctor says, OS blank, blank, blank. Okay. Also, the smartest woman in the world says, shots are done to get drunk. Liquid in glass is shooter's choice. What does that mean? What is that? What do you mean? Shots are.
I'm trying to think.
Shots are done to get drunk. Liquid in glass is shooter's choice. Also, she always says average cats live 12 to 18 years, which, as far as I'm concerned, is 11 to 17 years too long.
Stop it. Okay, so basically, she's saying that whatever's poured in the shot glass is the drinker's choice.
No, she's saying. Shots are done to get drunk. Liquid in glass is shooter's choice, whatever that means. Oh, hold. She said, Shelley said no one shoots whiskey or rum. And I'm with her on that. I mean, like, I know lots of people. Matter of fact, listen to country songs. Matter of fact, one of my favorite songs, Carrie Underwood, before he cheats, she talks about, shooting whiskey. Can't do whiskey shooters or whatever. I mean, how many country songs they talk about whiskey shooters? Everybody does that.
Whiskey shooters are fine. It's scotch, rum, vodka. I mean, they're not, to me, this is me, they're not shottable drinks.
Is this Shelley World?
It is Shelley World. Welcome.
Okay. Yesterday evening, I'm tuning around and I listened to KMOX. And I hear Dave Glover.
Was this after NPR?
Yeah, this is after NPR. After I ripped the knobs off my radio, got so mad at my radio. NPR, I'm sorry, it drives me nuts. Because first off, it's our tax dollars not at work. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so I'm listening to KMOX, and Dave Murray is on with Dave Glover. Okay, Dave Murray, the meteorologist who doesn't live here anymore, but yet he pretends he does. He lives in Palm Springs, California, something like that. So he said, And to the point where I thought to myself, did he say that? And they asked him, I said, say that again. He said he's a meteorologist. I mean, pretty trusted meteorologist in St. Louis, wouldn't you say? Probably still, even though he's not on TV anymore, he's still probably the most trusted. If you say, who's the best meteorologist in St. Louis, even though he doesn't live here anymore, people normally would say Dave Murray, right?
Yes.
Okay. He said yesterday that he doesn't trust computer models, and he doesn't trust any model longer than 7 days. And he essentially said, he came right out and said, the global warming thing is just bogus. He didn't use the word bogus, but he said it's just all BS. He says, you can't project past 7 days. I've said that all along. I go, how is it that people say, well, in 2032, we're going to have ice age? I'm going like, you can't even tell me what the forecast is going to be for Friday. You know what I mean? Because how many times have they said, hey, tomorrow's going to be a beautiful day, and it's raining? You know what I mean? And this is Dave Murray. I'm going like, I'm trying to get a hold of him to say, he probably won't come on the air because he's probably got a non-compete in his contract where he can't go on another station. But I heard him say this, and I'm going like, now some people say, well, he's an old school meteorologist. He said that the computer models are not that accurate. And he says a lot of times he says there's like 12 or 13 different computer models that are out there. He said a lot of times he'll look at the computer models and then he will do his own forecasting. And remember, I'm the guy that went back to school. I was a student at Mississippi State to get my meteorology degree. So I know a little bit about this. I never graduated, but I worked on my meteorology degree at Mississippi State, okay? In the old days, the way the meteorologists would do it, they would use a map and colored pencils. You'd literally draw these maps and you go, okay, this occluded front here, this, warming trend here, blah, blah, blah. And you draw all these different maps, and that's how you make your forecasts. And if you go back in history, you can watch some of these videos of like during World War II, where they were like planning bombing raids and things like that. They have pictures of the meteorologists in World War II doing this exact same thing. They got maps on the wall, and the guys they're drawing arrows, different colored stuff like that. And he said, to this day, he still does that. And he says, that's why, this is what he said. He says, that's why my forecasts are always more accurate than the other guys in town, because I do it old school. I don't pay attention to the computer models. And I'm going like, thank you, Dave Murray. And once again, I'm not the guy who says, I'm not like climate change. I think to a large degree.
You've been vindicated.
No, I think it's sort of BS because I give this example all the time, okay? One of my things when I was a kid, I was into geology and still to a certain extent are, okay? Do you know what sedimentary rock is?
I do.
Okay, explain what sedimentary rock is.
It's the little stuff that ends up on the bottom.
Okay, but once again, if you like cut a cliff, like if you get like a big crane or like a backhoe or something like that, and you get like an area that's rocky, and you dig down like 10 feet, and then you look at the face, what do you see?
I must be missing what you're asking me.
You see different layers of rock. Get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, like
okay.
Cutting a tree.
Right. You see like layer here, this layer is darker, okay? When you drive, and here's my example I give all the time. You drive along 270. You're down there in the Kirkwood, Sunset Hills area on 270 between Big Bend and 44. You go through the rocks, where the interstates cut through the rocks. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Look at the layers of rock, okay? That's sedimentary rock, which means once upon a time where you're driving along 270, back maybe hundreds of thousands, millions of years ago, it was underwater. Now, keep in mind, at that point, you're probably a good 200 feet, easily 100 feet, maybe 200 feet above the water level in the Merrimack River, okay? So you think the Merrimack River flood's bad? However long ago, so many, millions of years ago, all that was underwater, okay? Guess what? No people back then, no cars, no air conditioners, nobody flying planes, none of that stuff. There were no men and women on Earth. Maybe it was Adam and Eve that were there, but they didn't drive an SUV or anything like that. It was just, there was nothing. And people go like, well, that doesn't count. Well, why doesn't that count? That was like a long time ago. That's, and once again, you can see this all over the place. The Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon was caused by, guess what? Erosion of water. It's dry now for the most part. There's a couple little streams in the Grand Canyon. But, once again, there were big streams in there. That was like millions of years ago. So
you've never been there?
What's that?
Oh, you have, haven't you?
I've never. Well, I've driven by the Grand Canyon, not in it.
Well,
not in it. Okay.
It's probably something that you can drive by and still see, right?
Yes. Okay. One more story, which I think is interesting. The new CEO of Six Flags. His name is Salim, Salim Bassoul, Bassoul. He took over the job in November. And what he's doing is he's trying to change Six Flags because, get this, according to him, the park has gotten, quote, there are parks all over the country, not necessarily the one here in St. Louis and Eureka, but he says the parks have gotten too, quote, rowdy from teenagers running amok. And the plan includes hiking prices and trying to attract a more affluent customer. Quote, our aggressive strategic shift is still a work in progress, but my first 9 months at Six Flags as Six Flags CEO has only reinforced my initial belief in Six Flags' potential. He said the theme park operator has been in the process of an aggressive shift in strategy after realizing that, quote, it had discounted too much and that the philosophy of filling our parks was not the right one. And he said, get this, quote, as a result, we only got the discounter or we became a daycare center for teenagers.
There's probably a lot of truth to that. Have a nice time, honey.
Right.
Don't go on the
Right.
Batmobile.
We'll be back to pick you up when the park closes. Right.
Yeah, we'll be back.
I wonder
at
if that
11.
happens. He says part of the new strategy is institute new pricing, which means catering to customers with families or young adults who, quote, willing to come and spend the money in our parks. He said Six Flags expanded its advertising to pursue a broader market. In the past, the company focused on previous guests. Quote, we're now changing that philosophy and we're going to a broader market. We're going to what I call more affluent neighborhoods where we would like to bring people from those neighborhoods to come to our park and have not been targeted before. Although Six Flags experienced a decline in attendance over the past 3 months, the company said it was able to offset much of the drop in revenue through increased guest spending. I guess that's the kids who got dropped off for daycare who are buying the sodas and things like that.
That's
he said
funny.
they're going to increase the admission price, and it says that's going to be driven by higher realized ticket prices and a higher mix of single-day tickets. Heading in the fall, the company plans to add new offerings in an attempt to increase visitation, such as introducing a dining plan, catering a bigger Fright Fest with activities to attract more families, as well as introducing an Oktoberfest event. He says Six Flags second quarter revenue fell 4.5%, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, he's saying they're going to change Six Flags. They're going to try to kick the teenagers out and bring more affluent people in. So what they're going to do is they're going to go to Ladue and they're going to go, hey, we've got sushi at Six Flags. And all the Ladue people, oh, my God, let's go to Six Flags and have sushi. Oh, my God. Do you have finger sandwiches? Yes, we have finger sandwiches, too.
Do we have to use our pinky?
Right. Oh, wait, will you have a special parking lot for luxury German cars or luxury? Yes, we have a special parking lot for BMWs, Audis, Infinities, and Lexus. You get a special
Mercedes?
Yeah. Oh, the Mercedes.
Lincoln?
Mercedes, yes. You get it. No, Lincoln's, that's an American car. Nobody with any class drives a Lincoln. Just scum bums drive Lincolns.
Okay, keep on.
How, Shelley, what kind of car do you drive?
A Lincoln. Thank you.
So once again, the
What kind
dude.
of car do you drive, Brad?
It depends on the day, whatever I can get started.
Including your van down by the river?
Okay, the smartest woman in the world says Colorado River is a stream of water in Grand Canyon. It is. It's a little tiny stream. It's not that big. Okay, and she also says, did I miss Noah's Ark? Yes, I get it. The entire world was flooded and Noah was floating around. But that wasn't due to global warming. It wasn't because people driving their SUVs. I'm not, even though I'm a pastor, or reverend, whatever you want to call me, I don't know the Bible that well. But I do know some of the Bible. Let he who is out.
So I gather, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I gather when they tested you, they didn't make sure that you knew the Bible?
The test was, can I put my credit card into the machine, into the computer, so I can get my pastor's license? That was the test. And I passed. So I got my, of course, another thing that was in my wallet was my Reverend ID card. I lost my Reverend. Did you ever see my Reverend ID card? I actually have an ID card. It says I'm Reverend Brad. At least I did until I lost it.
Did you get it in a box of Cracker Jack?
No, I bought it online.
Oh, okay.
Universal Life Church, whatever it was. And then, then they had all the stuff you can upsell. You could buy the sticker that you can put on your card. It says clergy, because they talked about this is great for going to hospitals. You can park in the no parking zones as long as you have your clergy sign on. Because, once again, the clergy get to the hospital. They got to, minister somebody's last rites. They just park in a no parking zone and the police leave them alone. I'm going like, wow, that's sort of cool. I have to use that sometime. I'll go to the hospital, stick my clergy sticker on, and just park in a no parking zone. My luck, I've come out and my car's gone. They towed it. You know what I mean? And I go, hey.
Yeah, they would have missed that particular
right. It had
rule.
my clergy sign on. Yeah, right, bud. We don't think you're clergy.
I have to tell something.
Okay.
So I go see our doctor yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of clergy, and you know how I am and how I talk freely.
Right.
So we're sitting there and I'm having a conversation with our doctor and just carrying on like I do. And then he's like, okay, well, we'll see you in a month. So I go out to the reception or the medical assistant so she could set me up an appointment. And I look towards the other door and it's a man of the cloth.
Yeah.
So I'm like, Tammy, why didn't you tell me that there was a priest over there?
What you're saying was Shelley was talking in sailor talk, right? She
yes.
was F-bombing and everything like she normally does. Not here on the air, thank God, because otherwise we would be off the air. The FCC would pull our license back. But you're F-bombing and there's a priest in the other room.
Correct.
And he was hearing you F-bomb.
Which I'm sure he heard every single word.
And did he say to you, did he look at you and go, young lady, I hope you burn in hell?
No, he didn't say anything to me. I just saw his collar.
Oh, okay. How do you know he wasn't like wearing something like from the old days when you could wear a Nehru jacket?
Uh-huh.
Remember those?
No, he was clergy.
Maybe he was like doing the 60s, 70s, retro thing, and he had the Nehru jacket on. Now, how many people know what I'm talking about when I say a Nehru jacket? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You don't know what a Nehru jacket is?
No.
Oh, we'll talk about that. Well, Neil, we won't talk about that next break because I have a special guest, a serious special guest, a guy who I think who will give us what I think is incredibly good news. I'm not kidding. I'm serious about this. He's coming up next, okay? And you have no idea who it is, do you?
I don't.
It's the priest who was at the doctor's office yesterday with Shelley.
Shut up.
That is who it is.
Don't we have to take a break? Oh, 7:28.
It's 7:28. It is BS.Show. I'm Shelley. She's Brad. Together we get together and make BS. It is 7:32 on a, what day is it? Tuesday, Shelley?
Is it Tuesday?
I think it is Tuesday. It's one of those days. It's something like that.
16th.
16th, yeah.
I know.
Weather, still have that rain coming in. We'll have a complete forecast coming up in a couple of minutes with Jennifer. What's her name again?
Wojcicki.
Very good. I have a special guest on the phone this morning.
I'm so excited. Who is it?
It's Steve Ehlmann. Steve, do you hear me okay?
Yeah, Brad.
This is Steve Ehlmann, who is the county executive for St. Charles County. I get press releases from time to time. Mary Anger sends me your press releases, and I got one yesterday, which I thought was really interesting, and I think something we really need to push. It's a story about you putting St. Charles County police officers in several of the schools as school resource officers, correct?
That's correct.
Now, and this is money that came from, what's going to pay for this?
Oh, it's ARPA money that we received from the federal government. And given the seriousness of this issue, I thought it was a good way to spend it right now.
Now, the thing that I want to talk about is, and it's a little bit complicated because you're putting him into several school districts, but only the schools that are in unincorporated St. Charles County. Is that correct?
Yeah, and that's because, we have a county police department, which technically can go anywhere in the county, but as a courtesy and just as a tradition, the municipalities that have their own police departments, we leave those schools in those areas to those municipal police departments, and we simply provide the SROs for the schools that are in the unincorporated parts of the county. And, we've been doing this for a long time, and it's usually a cost-sharing type thing. And basically what we've done in the past is provide the SROs. We've had one in each middle school and each high school, and then we've had several that kind of rotate around in the elementary schools. And you might wonder, well, why would you leave the elementary schools out, Brad? And this kind of goes back to the original goal here back in the 30 years ago when we started doing these SROs. The problem was kids bringing guns to school. And the people were trained, the police officers were trained, assuming that in most cases what you'd have, if you had anything other than the kids bring guns to school, if you had an adult coming in, they were there to take hostages. Well, of course, now we're way beyond just the kids bringing guns to school, and we have actual adults coming in and shooting students, which means the most vulnerable are really in the elementary schools, and they've received less attention over the years. So we're going to put the attention back where I think it belongs today, in the schools where the young kids are really the most vulnerable.
So this is going to be, and how many schools are going to be impacted by this?
We hired 14 additional SROs. We still have about 5 positions we need to fill in the next week or so. And but until they are filled, we'll have other police department employees filling those jobs, and we won't be taking any patrolmen off the street. They'll still have their regular patrols, but we'll have a SRO. And again, the other thing I really want people to understand is, we had the whole situation in Uvalde where the officers in the school really didn't respond appropriately. And what they were doing was following old protocols, again, that were based on the fact that what was usually happening was that shooters were taking hostages, and the police were taught to secure the area and wait for the SWAT team to get there, because they were the ones who knew how to talk the hostages down and so forth, or talk the shooters down when they were holding hostages. But of course, what you had in Uvalde was the shooting started, and they didn't respond. I just want everybody in St. Charles County to know that all of our police officers, not just county officers, all the municipal officers have all been trained now for the last 8 or 9 years. When that first shot is fired, they're in there. And hopefully we'll never have that situation. But if we do, our people have been trained to deal with it correctly.
Now, the officers, we're talking with Steve Ehlmann, County Executive, about the new school resource officers going to be put in the elementary schools, just in unincorporated St. Charles County. The officers are the ones that you're hiring. Are these specially trained officers, have training above and beyond that other training?
Well, they have, they would be, they would have the normal amount of training that a police officer would have. But again, that training for all of our people includes the training for the type of situation that developed in Uvalde, Texas.
And this is only in the grade schools we're talking about now, right? I mean, there's already school resource officers in most of the...
we already have them in the unincorporated areas. We have them in the high schools and in the middle schools. And again, we had a few officers that rotated around in the elementary. But really, again, when you think about it, the elementary students are really the most vulnerable. 30 years ago, when you were worried about students bringing guns to school, they were probably the least likely to bring a gun to school.
Right.
So you put the resources among the older kids. and right now, I think you need to put it among the most vulnerable.
No.
And again, this may be adopted by the various cities, or it may not. And we're gonna do it for at least the next year and see how it works out. Of course, if it's something we think is worthwhile and we need to continue to do it, we'll find money in our own budget to do it. But right now, we have this federal money that's available, and I think this is a good way to spend it.
Now, the one interesting thing is in your press release, it talks about the Washington schools, and a lot of people don't realize that in Augusta, that's the Washington School District, but that's in St. Charles County.
That's correct.
And so
we have five major school districts. And I would say 95% of our students are in those five in St. Charles County. But Augusta for a long time now has been in the Washington School District. Makes a lot of sense. But we also cover that.
Now, and the reason you're doing Augusta, even though it is its own city, you have the police protection there already, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, Augusta is incorporated, but they don't have a police department. And I think that's one of the really important things and important differences between St. Charles and St. Louis County. They have 90 municipalities over there and like 45 police departments. Our major cities, our 5-6 major cities that are big enough, have their own police department. The ones that are growing rely upon the county, and someday they may be large enough to afford and to have a really professional police department of their own. But rather than having less than a professional police department, all of our smaller towns and villages use our county police.
Steve Ehlmann's my guest right now, and what's talking about is the new program that's going to take effect, in a couple of weeks, right? That's when school goes back.
It depends when the schools start. And like I said, we still need about five more officers. And as you know, this was the real challenge. And I got to give Chief Frizz credit for finding these folks, because as you know, there's a real shortage of police officers, and city of St. Louis has been short now for how many years. And we've had to really hustle to find these folks. But I figured, there's got to be some people out there that are approaching my age and maybe are thinking about retiring, but not quite ready. And instead of working 12-hour shifts, they would be working 6-hour shifts. Instead of working 12 months a year, they'd be working 9 months out of the year. So I think this is a good opportunity for kind of a semi-retirement for police officers who are ready for that.
Sounds like you're making a pitch for the people to apply, right?
we are definitely recruiting.
Yeah.
We sent some people to a meeting, a statewide meeting, and we sent some people there with the express purpose of trying to recruit folks that are interested in that type of position. And like I said, we've been pretty successful, but we still need a couple more.
Steve, appreciate your time. If people want more information, they can find out on your website, and I'll give you the pleasure of giving your web address. How's that?
Well, it's S. Ehlmann at sccmo.org.
And that's where they can send you an email then, correct?
Yeah, they can send me an email, and and they can get on the county website. And it's always an exciting time when school starts, and it's especially exciting given the fact that these kids have been through so much the last 2 years with COVID.
Yeah,
and we need to get back to normalcy, and these kids that have lost out, we need to catch them up.
I couldn't agree with you more.
That's a whole nother issue.
All right, we'll talk about that in the future. Hey, Steve, appreciate it. And I just called you Mary, and thanks for coming on in very short notice, but I thought this was really great news, especially like you kept mentioning the Uvalde thing, which is just an incredible tragedy, and hopefully this will not happen at least in these places in St. Charles County.
Always glad to be on with you, Brad.
Talk to you later, Steve. Bye-bye.
Okay.
What do you think, Shelley?
I think that I'm excited.
You know,
I'm thinking that this is going to be a good thing, is what I think.
I think it's interesting what he's talking about. They're looking for part-time police officers, and especially, maybe ex-military guys. I don't know. I mean, it's for sure. I mean, like a lot of different jobs, when you're a young buck, construction work is fun. Being a firefighter is fun. Being a paramedic is fun. Being a police officer is fun. But when you get up there in years, it's not as much fun anymore because the years have a tendency to take a toll on your body. You know what I'm saying? And,
isn't that the truth?
Yeah. So this is quite possibly, and
my
what?
toll is
it sounds
gaining ground.
It sounds like what he's looking for is really seasoned police officers who've been around the block. And I'm thinking to myself, what better people to put into grade schools when, a lot of these guys, if they're up there in years, obviously may have, grandkids that age, if you know what I'm saying. I mean, kids for sure of that age and maybe even grandkids. But by the same token, I won't say that. I'll get in trouble if I say that because it's a slam against my age. But anyway, and what's interesting about it is, and the complicating factor, and that's the thing I tried to bring up with Steve, it's only the schools that are in unincorporated St. Charles County, with the exception of Augusta. Augusta gets an officer because of the fact that they have their police protection provided by St. Charles County. But in the public schools that are in incorporated areas like O'Fallon, St. Peter's, that's not the case. But so he's got, I think they said, 9 or 10 grade schools that comply with this. So it's going to be interesting. And what's interesting, what he said is, think about that. 30 years ago, the situation was, you were afraid of people who would go into a school and hold the kids hostage. Now that's unfortunately changed for the worst, where they're not going in to hold hostage. They're going in to, unfortunately, kill people, which, once again, I don't understand. I'll never understand that. I'll never understand it. I mean, if you're going to do police by suicide, just get out of your car, and wave a gun and they'll take you out. But don't go to a school. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
I mean, if you're going to do that, and unfortunately, I bring up police by, suicide by police, which is a real thing.
It is a thing.
Don't do it in a school. Just do it on the highway.
Exactly.
And, we'll have it over with.
Exactly.
Not in the schools. Okay. And I'm getting in trouble for saying that, but I really do mean that.
You
sincere.
really will, but I agree with you.
Am I telling the truth or am I what?
Yep.
I mean, unfortunately, most of these guys, they know they're not coming out alive. You know what I mean? They know that going in, which is sad. They're going to take out of other people and then kill themselves. You just
wonder what is going through their little brain.
Well, I think that you said it right. It's a little brain. It's not a very big one. It's 7:47. It is BS.Show. It's about damn time. That's all I can tell you. We're here on the air, so that's about, what time is it?
It's about the Hoover Dam.
There you go. Talked about this. Buc-ee's coming to Missouri. They're going to put one in Springfield.
Are they?
Yes. It's going to be, as a matter of fact, they did the groundbreaking. They're going to be announced Monday. It will break ground in a Springfield, Missouri location on Tuesday, August 23rd. Springfield is the birthplace of Route 66. Stan Beard of Buc-ee's said in a news release, it's perfectly natural that Buc-ee's, the ultimate road trip destination, is coming to this gorgeous stretch of Americana history. If you don't know what Buc-ee's is, I didn't realize they've been around that long. It's 1982. I found out about Buc-ee's.
In the South, right?
Yeah, primarily. They started, I believe, in Texas. And the one that I found out about, I guess, was been 2 or 3 years back when I went to see my son in Pensacola. And I got down to Mobile, got south on 45, and then went east on 10, Interstate 10. And there was one, I can't remember if it's actually in Alabama or if it's in Florida. It's right near the state line. And
Did you go through the tunnel?
Yeah, I went through the tunnel. But this is like
I love that tunnel.
Long passing, you get through the tunnel. So when I got to my son's place, I said, what's that big, huge place? Oh, that's Buc-ee's. You need to go there. So on the way back at Christmas morning, I stopped into Buc-ee's. And I'm going like, if you don't know what it is, 120 gas pumps. If you've been down to Fenton and seen Wally's, Buc-ee's is like twice as big. Wally's is huge.
Wally's is like Buc-ee's light.
Yeah, Buc-ee's is like twice the size of Wally's. And I have to tell you, I am hooked on Wally's sliced brisket sandwich. Oh, my God, is that good. I've had one too many so far since they've opened down in Fenton. Anytime I'm on 44 heading westbound, I get off at the old exit there. I used to take you to the Chrysler plant, and I hit hit Wally's. And I don't know if they're putting any in the St. Louis area. Typically, they don't put them in metro areas. They put them like outside of metros. And I guess
They could put it in Warrenton.
No.
They could put it where that
No, they
ghost of a
Steve
witchmajiggers.
Steve Casper won't allow that. He won't allow Buc-ee's in Warrenton. Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what he cares about.
Brian Richardson will tell everybody how bad it is, so you can't go to Buc-ee's. So anyway.
Again, idle words.
Anyway, that's what's coming to Springfield. So if you've never been to Buc-ee's, and once again, I highly recommend going to Wally's. It's locally owned. I think it's a guy out of Sullivan that owns it.
He spent a lot of money on it, no doubt.
It's very nice. The restrooms are really interesting.
Do they have charging stations?
They do have charging stations. They do, seriously. They have charging stations on the west end of the building. Yeah.
Wally's.
Yeah, Wally's. And I don't know how the women's rooms are because I don't go in the women's rooms, but the men's room have these really cool faucets. It's like this silver bar. It's like a bar that's in front of you. And on the left side, you put your hands underneath there, and it automatically squirts soap in your hands. Then you move your hands to the middle of the bar, and it puts water in your hands. You get, rub that soap around, get it washed off with the water, and then you move your hands to the right side of the bar, and it's a blow dryer in the wash bowl. It's really cool. I've never seen anything like it. And,
does it rinse your hands appropriately?
Oh, it does a nice job. I mean, matter of fact, and on some of them, if you move your hand, there's a fourth position. If you put your hand over there, it gives you a manicure.
Okay.
You don't believe me, do you?
Not about that.
It gives you manicure. And when you sit in the toilets, the sit-down toilets, have a massager.
You do what?
They have a massager.
I don't know about that, but I know that some of trucks out there have a massager.
Massaging seats, right? At the truck
Yes,
stops.
I know. Right. I felt violated.
What? When you went to a truck stop, that's what you get for going to a truck stop with those truckers.
No, it was a friend's truck, and I'm like, dude, I'm just telling you, something is, violating me. I don't know what is wrong with your truck.
I thought you were talking about when you were hung out at the truck stops.
No, that was a different Shelley.
Shelley was down at the Quickie Mart right there in Old Town St. Peter's, off of Mid Rivers. You know what I'm talking about? It's the QT truck stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where Shelley hangs out.
It is.
Hey, big boy. Is that a Freightliner? Are you happy to see me?
You're so bad. Oh, Brad.
Okay, one last thing.
Please.
This is the sad story of Salman Rushdie, who was stabbed last week. His wife our ex-wife is Padma Lakshmi. Okay, let me look her up. Okay, he's 75. Let me go on Wikipedia and find her. And her. Okay, here we are. Padma. Padma, L-A-A-K. Oh, there she is. Okay. He's 75. She's 51. You go, Salman. And she is a knockout. And it says she's born September 1st, 1970. An Indian-American author, activist, model, television host. She has hosted the cooking competition program Top Chef on Bravo continuously since season 2, 2006. For her work, she received a Primetime Emmy Award nomination. And she was married to Salman from 2004 to 2007. Now she was married to Theodore Forstman from 2009 to 2011. So now she's single. She's 5'9". My daughter would say.
Might have a chance. Now she's single.
Right. She's published 6 books, 2 cookbooks, Easy, Exotic, and Tangy, a bunch of different cookbooks. Early life. She was born in Madras in India into a Tamil Brahmin family, whatever that is. Her mother, Vijaya, is a retired oncology nurse. Her parents divorced when she was 2 years old. She immigrated to the United States at age 4, was raised in New York City before moving to La Puente, California with her mother and stepfather. As a teenager growing up in Los Angeles, she stated she was bullied and endured racial aggression, which caused her to struggle to overcome internalized self-loathing. Let me tell you, she shouldn't do any of that self-loathing. She's a knockout. And she was married to Salman Rushdie. Once again, if you got money and if you got fame, and even if you're old and weird looking, you can have hot women as your girlfriend and wives. That's just the way it is.
Do you really believe that?
100%. Look at these billionaires who are like 85 and shriveled up. They look like prunes, and they're married to 35-year-old fashion models. How does that happen? You know what I mean? You think there's true love there? No, of course not.
You don't know that.
I do know that. Don't try to convince me otherwise.
Okay.
So.
Oh, good. Goodness, it's 7:59.
We have to get out of here. Say
How
goodbye.
did that happen?
Say goodbye, Shelley.
Bye, Shelley. It's been a slice of heaven as usual, Brad. Everybody, peace and I fly, and it is Tuesday.
7:59.
Have you heard about Salt River Automotive? Not only are we open for business and ready to serve you, we are sponsors of the BS in the Morning Show on Westplex 107.1. Check us out on Facebook at Salt River Automotive LLC. See you soon.